Welcome to the Joining ewe lamb Decision Support Tool. I'm Mark Ferguson, CEO at NextGen Agri. This is the second in a series of 3 videos describing this tool. There's an introduction video. If you haven't watched that, it might be worth going back and checking that out. And the third video is the strategic management. So today we're going to focus on this management focus area here. Before I get into that, I just want to point out that this was a project that's been funded by Meat and Livestock Australia. It's been a collaborative project between Murdoch University, Farming Systems Analysis Service and NextGen Agri. So the key personnel there, Andrew Thompson at Murdoch, John Young at Farming Systems Analysis Service and Ian Harris at NextGen Agri, as well as myself. So it's been a big collaborative effort, a lot of learning along the way to match or to put a bioeconomic model through a machine learning process and then develop a decision support tool that you've got in front of you now. So it's been a really interesting project. Today, in this video, I wanted to cover the management focus area, and so on both of these pages, you'll see that this aspect here is common. So you kind of only have to set that up once, and that'll hold. Once you've done that, it'll hold across the second aspect of the tool, which we'll describe in the next video. But for the management focus area, this is designed to help you work out whether it's profitable to join ewe lambs or not, because that's not a given. In some farms it will be, in other farms it won't be, or some breeds and some scenarios. So this is a tool that if you're in the kind of unknown basket, not sure whether you think you should be doing it or not, this is a good opportunity to go through and work out whether in most years whether you'd make money or not. So a few things you need to go through and do to set it up to be as close to your farm as possible. So your growing season length is how long you've got green feed for, obviously. Each of these, a lot of these have these little eyes where you can hover over and it'll give you a bit of detail about what we're expecting you to put in there. So if you've got a long growing season, you're out here. If you've got a very short growing season, you're pulling back there. And that's just to try and get it close to your environment. If you're shorter than that or you're longer than that, you just go to the scenario that's most like yours in all of these cases. So we can set that where is appropriate. This number here is the total number of ewe lambs you wean. So that's of all of your maternal ewes, so the ewes that you have bred to a maternal ram or a ram of the type that you would retain progeny from for breeding. That's how many ewe lambs. So it's the total drop, not your terminal ewe lambs, but those that went to your maternal or merino or whatever your breed is, but the ones that you would keep the replacements out of. So that's the total drop. The joining here, we'll leave that as 1,000 because it's an easy number. The joining here is the date of joining of adult ewes. So elsewhere you can sort of determine how young or how old the ewe lambs you join are. But so this is the date of joining of your main flock of ewes. The year is obviously not important, but so it's the day the rams go in. So we'll chuck it on Valentine's Day. You then get to select the breed. So we've got 3 options here. You've got a sort of fine wool merino, a medium merino, or sort of more of a dual purpose type merino, and then a maternal breed, whether that's a woolless sheep or a composite maternal or what that is. Obviously we can't describe every type here, but the one that's most like your breed is what you're going for there. So if you've got a 16 micron sheep, you're obviously going to select this fine wool. If you're in the 21 micron merino, you're going to be here. So you get to the one that's closest to your type. So we'll set that as a maternal. This next slider is the genetic potential for reproduction. That's given a bit of a guess, I suppose, about where you think if you've been buying your rams really and focusing on reproductive breeding values, then you might be cranking that one up fairly high because you know that you've been buying some pretty high-end rams. If you haven't really been looking at it at all and you're not that confident, you might just want to go to the average. If you know you're a bit below par, you can scale it down a bit. So obviously a little bit of a guess. If you've been buying rams on breeding values, you'll know which percentile they'll kind of fit in. If you've been buying top 5% of repro, you're up here. If you've been buying bottom 5%, you're down here. But if you haven't, a bit of an educated guess about how you think your sheep are in terms of their genetic potential for reproduction. And so we might just leave that for average. Then you're selecting your wool price. So again, scaling, this is dollars per bale, so your sort of total clip divided by total income from wool divided by the number of bales you produced. We thought might be the easiest way to have a fairly consistent one there. What you will notice is some of these things change with the breed. So if we swing to a medium wool merino, then you've got a different set of options for your wool price. So so that's consistent, and then it goes up again if you go into that finer wool category. So we'll change that back and we'll drop wool price back a bit. Then lamb price, dollars per kilo carcass weight. Obviously a range here, a beautiful number of 12 would be awesome, and we might be more like $7.50 or $8 at the moment, depending where you are. Again, it's sort of a bit of where you think it's going to be for a while. Obviously, if you set it up, if it's currently skyrocketing, you probably don't want to do your calculations based on that, because it won't hold that value. But yeah, so wherever you think the market's going to be, you set that there. If you're kind of selling maternal ewe lambs out of your flock, and so you might actually end up with quite a high carcass weight on some years, a high value per kilogram carcass weight, because you're selling some of them out as potential capital stock. Then the supplement that you're mainly feeding, so if you're feeding expensive lupins or some cheap hay or silage or baleage, you can set that here. Obviously you need to match that with the quality of that feed. So if it's cheap, it's often not that the quality is reduced, so you need to sort of treat these two things together. There's a few examples here of what you can sort of use if you don't know, if you haven't done a feed test on your feed, and so you can, if you don't know that number, you can kind of estimate it, and you'll probably know how much it costs, or at least how much it would be worth if you sold it. So you go through that process. So we'll go to 11 meg 290. Then in your flock structure, if you're on the maternal breed, it's assuming that you will sell them all at 6 months, all the young ewes. If you're in a merino, then you've got the option of selling them out as hoggets or as 6 months or 18 months of age. And so try and get as close to what you do normally with the surplus young females. And so we'll go back to maternals, and then equally you've got two different options for when you sell your oldest age group as well, whether they go out as 5.5-year-olds or 6.5-year-olds. So you can change those numbers, and then you're setting the percentage that you're currently getting in your adult ewes, and so you might be doing from maternal, so we might be doing 140, and we might be doing 115 in our maidens or two-tooths. Our sort of, I guess we weren't doing ewe lambs; it's their first lamb. And so then you're all set. So you can hit the analyze button, and that should feed back to you the outcome. And so what that's telling you is that there's some money in mating ewe lamb. So it's about $12 a ewe in mating ewe lambs. There's still some upside in your mating adults and your two-tooths. And so there's still some value to get from increasing those as well, but it's saying that on this particular case, there's definitely money in making those ewe lambs. So then what you can do basically is you toggle back and you click on management focus again, and you might go, well, if I crank this up to there and there, I'll go a bit better. So I think that was more realistic. Then it shows you that, okay, there's not a lot of extra profit left in increasing our reproductive level in our adults. There's a bit left in our two-tooths, but ewe lambs are starting to look pretty attractive. Again, you can toggle back and go, well, maybe I was wrong on my reproductive potential. Maybe they're a bit better than that, so I can analyse it, and it's showing you there's a bit more money in it if they were a bit more, if they did a bit more reproductive focus there. and that's the way you can kind of play the game. And then obviously you drop back lamb price and increase supplement price, all of a sudden it's going to say, well, there's not much money in it because it's costing a lot of money to feed them up, and there's not a lot of extra profit in that. So these scenarios you can kind of play with and say, well, and sort of get a bit of an idea on which type of years you might make you money. And so that's the other way you can use this tool. It's not just giving you the one answer, it's kind of scenario checking and going through different scenarios. So that's a bit of a quick rundown on the management focus area, which again is helping you make that decision whether you should be mating ewe lambs or not, or under the scenarios in which it's likely to be profitable for you. The next video will be on strategic management, so that's where we'll go through, if you've made the decision to do it, how do you optimize that system to make the most value out of it. I hope you've enjoyed that video. Again, a great collaboration between Murdoch University Farming Systems Analysis Service and NextGen Agri, and we very much appreciate the support of MLA in getting this tool out to sheep producers. Cheers.